And what Sarah wanted. Scathing details are revealed about a plan former Governor Sarah Palin had to deal with her young daughter's pregnancy. And in Vanity Fair, Levi Johnston, the father of Sarah Palin's grandchild, says at one point the former Republican vice presidential candidate wanted to adopt his child so people wouldn't know her 17-year-old daughter was pregnant. Johnston also claims Palin resigned as Alaska's governor to make money writing or as a TV host, and that she is not a hockey mom or an outdoors woman.
And not only did Sarah Palin think she was running for president, but just weeks after she and John McCain lost, she began telegraphing her intention to resign. So says her ex-future son-in-law. Sarah Palin thought she was going to become her own grandson's mother and thought she was actually running for president. The book of Levi has come out. Well, the magazine article of Levi. It plays off the Billy Paul one-hit wonder hit of 1972, Me and Mrs. Jones. Levi Johnston's tell-all article for Vanity Fair magazine, Me and Mrs. Palin. Our number one story on the countdown. Honestly, if it claimed there'd been hanky-panky, it probably would have been better for the ex-governor than what Johnston actually wrote. One survivor's story of a late summer and early autumn spent with Sarah Palin's flying circus. She thought her job as governor was too hard. She thought she was running for president. She wanted to keep her daughter's pregnancy a secret, and perhaps worst of all, she doesn't hunt for her own food, so she makes her kids go fetch Crunchwrap Supremes from Taco Bell. The aspiring model, Mr. Johnston, gives us his version of Planet Palin, questioning the ex-governors of Alaska's hunting cred. She had a gun in her bedroom, and one day she asked me to show her how to shoot it. I asked her what kind of gun it was, and she said she didn't know because it was in a box under her bed. As for the Palin home life, Johnston claims the Palins didn't talk much as a family. The cooking was left up to the kids. He depicts the ex-governor as lazy and domineering, offering bribes and wielding guilt trips. Johnston also alleges that Palin wanted to keep her daughter's pregnancy, quote, a secret. She would say, "So are you going to let me adopt him?" We both kept telling her we were definitely not going to let her adopt the baby. I think Sarah wanted to make Bristol look good, and she didn't want people to know that her 17-year-old daughter was going to have a kid. And during the weeks before the election, Levi claims Palin thought she was running for president. She would say things like, "I brought everything to the table, and the majority of people were out there voting because of me." And after the Republican ticket was defeated, I had assumed she was going to go back to her job as governor. But a week or two after she got back, she started talking about how nice it would be to quit and write a book or do a show and make triple the money. It was to her not as hard. She would blatantly say, "I want to just take this money and quit being governor." Joining me now, MSNBC political analyst, columnist for CQPolitics.com, Craig Crawford. Good evening, Craig.
And in tonight's episode of the Wasilla Hillbillies.
How did it happen that Levi Johnston turns into a Sarah Palin whistleblower?
Right. This smackdown, we haven't seen a family smackdown like this since Kendi and Tori Spelling wrote dueling books. I think the whistleblowing aspect, so many people have divided up on her. I would say those who want to believe these things are going to hear the whistle, and those who don't are going to call him a liar.
Some of his accusations can be characterized as at best as low blows. He's got an axe to grind. This was almost his mother-in-law, but even so, even with that context, is anybody who might still fall into that neutral category going to think that these accusations bode well somehow for the former governor?
No, I don't see that happening. The only thing I can see boding well for her is that it just makes her more famous. People keep talking about her. Her political future, though, is another matter.
I named my fantasy football team after her. I don't know if that counts as really being famous, but even some of her defenders have weighed in here, and David Brody of the Christian Broadcasting Network wrote, "How much can Palin take before becoming irrelevant?" And is there a tipping point? Because I know a lot of us have been surprised that it has not been reached.
Yes, she does seem to be in the sunset hours of her ninth life, politically speaking. But again, probably for the things that he writes about her ambitions in this article, that she wants to make triple the money, write a book, get a show. For all those things, the more she's talked about, the better. As a matter of fact, that's one way to test the accuracy, I would say, of his article is let's see what she does. If she does go out there and make triple the money, write a book, and and get a show, then at least that much of his article would true, which would corroborate perhaps some of the other arguments.
Now, with the tipping point, I think I just figured out where the tipping point would be. If she went to do some reality show or an interview show or whatever, and it was horrible, that's the point at which her supporters would turn on her because she failed on TV, correct?
Yeah. If this were a reality show, Keith, about this family, I mean, only Seth MacFarlane could actually produce it, I think.
Yeah, well, he produces everything else, so I suppose that would be the case. Should she, in fact, respond to any of this? She rarely has addressed criticism head-on. It's usually some sort of side snark.
Well, we've seen hints of it in the past, and I'm sure what we might see if she says anything is that, oh, how sad that he's been manipulated by the media, and feed that worldview of so many of her supporters that those of us in the media get up every morning just trying to figure out how can we get Sarah Palin today, and feed that. I mean, as for me, I go for days on end without thinking about Sarah Palin until something like this happens.
Yeah, I mean, occasionally there's a drought and you have to go out and do a rain dance, but most of the time it just rains on its own. You don't really need
right
this.
Over the transom, yeah.
There is one interesting point in here that, if it resonates, might, I think, stick. Johnston claims the Palin kids did all the cooking and cleaning. She stayed in her room all day watching wedding shows, and that she and her husband essentially lead separate lives. Would that sell well to the conservative family values wing of the party if she ever actually tries to get the presidential nomination in 2012?
She does, and those descriptions sound more like one of Cinderella's evil stepsisters than a devoted family woman who would be president. As far as her supporters, she'll always have those, those birthers and birchers out there who are going to just believe anything she's got to say and hate and disbelieve anything anyone else says against her. But I do think she is getting down to sort of not even the full right wing of the party, maybe just holding on to a few feathers of the right wing.
The birchers stick with her and the birthers head for high ground. Craig Crawford, MSNBC and CQPolitics.com. Great, thanks, Craig.
Good to be here.
That's countdown for this 2,316th day since the previous president declared mission accomplished in Iraq.